I'm the Director of Catering and Special Events for Corky's Barbecue, and Corky's Barbecue is a lot more than just barbecue. Now, when I started 7 years ago in November, I was coming to join Simply Delicious as a salesperson. They needed a sales manager, and I interviewed with Trisha, who is the founder of Corky's. Dawn, his daughter, she heads up our catering division. So I interviewed with her, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna, be a salesperson and sell catering and fun events. And
you just need the internet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're in, so just put whatever you want up there.
Who has not been to Corky's?
What?
No, but I
Jeez.
have worked for the company.
Have you?
Just two people?
Fantastic.
Chef Erickson before you went to.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I worked with her. Yeah, before I went to Virginia. So, so it started with Simply Delicious, and I knew at the time it was like, yeah, we own Corky's, and we're starting this high-end catering company, and everything was very different. We had Simply Delicious, and then Corky's Catering, and the restaurants, and we did that because we were doing a lot. Corky's Barbecue is doing a ton of catering. Like, when I say a ton, like thousands of people catering. It's like we'll do 5,000, 20,000, 30,000 caterings. We'll go to Chicago and DC and New Orleans. We'll do tons of catering. We've been doing it for 30 years. And through some of our relationships with some of the venues here in town, and at the zoo in particular, we do a ton of stuff at the zoo. Lots of company picnics, and the director of events there, Tim, he was talking to Amir, who's our director of operations, and he was like, I work with every caterer in town, and by far Corky's is the best. And it's funny because he says they're the best, and these were the reasons why. You guys show up. Like, that was the first thing. You show up, you don't run out of food, it's always hot, and your people are great. Like, those are the 4 reasons. And he was like, you'd be surprised at how many caterers I work with who don't do that thing. Sometimes they don't show up on time, they don't have, the food is cold, they don't have great people. It's like, they've called in, their brothers and aunts and uncles and everybody to come and work the event, and they all look mismatched and everything. But Corky's really has it together. But nobody wants to serve barbecue at their $1 million wedding. We know that's not true anymore, because I'll show you a little bit of barbecue that we do in these really fancy weddings. But and that kind of put a little seed in Amir's head about doing something other than barbecue. But barbecue is what we knew, it was what we were good at, and it was relatively easy. It's relatively easy to do. Pork, chicken, beans, and slaw. 4 things, and we do it well, and we do it great, and it's hot, and it's fresh, and everybody, we have, 200 restaurant employees who can execute any off-premise catering event. So the thought of doing something other than barbecue is a little scary. So we started doing some varied menus, like they started adding, hamburgers and hot dogs and fried chicken and catfish and some other varied things, and we were being successful with those things. So about 8 years ago, they said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and do a couple of off-premise catering events. So Amir's, because we are a family-owned business, it's really funny, Amir's daughter was getting married, so he said, I am going to do a pasta bar. I'm gonna do a pasta station at a wedding. So it was like the first thing, and they got all this equipment, and they did it, and they thought, it's not that difficult, so they started contacting, some people that they knew, and some companies that we were already doing barbecue caterings for, and we're saying, hey, do you have a holiday party you're gonna do? Because we would love to do a holiday party for you. That's not barbecue, and we'll do it kind of at a discounted rate, because we're just trying the stuff out. So they started doing a few holiday parties here and there, and we got a little confidence, and the following year, 2011, we opened Simply Delicious, and we bought a storefront over at Poplar 240. It's now nothing but cakes. It was about the size of this room, the whole thing. It was probably smaller than the size of this room, including the walk-ins. So during the first 2 months of operating, we realized that was too small. Like there was no way that we were going to be able to put out, you know, caterings with a larger menu for even 100 people. Like for 100 people with pork, beans, and slaw, you need like this much space, you know, but for something that has, you know, pasta bars and carving stations and stuff like that, it's just, you need more walk-in space, more prep space, all that stuff. So we actually purchased an office building on Brookhaven Circle and built a kitchen in it. And now that is our commissary. And we do about 800 catering events a year out of there. We do all of the full service Corky's barbecue caterings, but large numbers. All the restaurants do smaller caterings, but we do the large numbers. So we're the ones that are doing, you know, 500, 600,000, all of those are coming out of us. And we do, out of that about 800 caterings, about 20% are events. And some of them are, and most of them are custom events. So we are doing more than just bringing food, we're coordinating events. And I'm gonna show you a video about that. Maybe I'll show you a bit. Oh, here you go.
When you call Simply Delicious, you might be calling for food, and yeah, it does start with food, but when you call Simply Delicious, you're getting so much more than that. I grew up in the restaurant business from when I was 5, 6 years old. My dad couldn't toast a piece of bread. However, when people walked in our restaurant, they knew they were going to have an experience. You could see him standing at the host desk, turning up the music, making sure it was a perfect level of his 50s music. The lighting had to be absolutely perfect. The servers had to absolutely put their smile on and deliver Southern hospitality at its best. That's what he did. He couldn't cook, but he created an experience. With Simply Delicious, we're doing exactly the same thing. We take great food. We have amazing culinary staff, like bar none, unbelievable. And we add to that the most amazing presentation, innovative, creative. We have teams of people that are literally analyzing and reanalyzing and analyzing again at how we can make this look even better for our client, because we listen to our client. From start to finish, we are walking with our client through every single step of the process. So it's not so much that someone calls us up and they say, we're having a wedding and we need food, and we give them a menu and then we say, okay, we'll see you that night. No, we walk every step with our clients. We go through walkthroughs, we work with all of our vendors. To us, the most important part of this whole process is developing relationships with our vendor friends and making sure that we coordinate, collaborate to make sure that the experience is perfect for our client. Because tonight's only going to happen one time for our bride and groom. So we have to make sure that her vision comes through. The details are so important when planning wedding catering. It's one of those things that, as the caterer, we have to think about how every food item that we're presenting connects with the bigger picture. How does it connect with the venue and where it's going to be located? And how does it connect with the flowers, and do we need flowers on the passing trays? And so it's really important for us to take those things into consideration so that we can make the whole experience perfect. So it's not just like we're coming and we're bringing food, but we're coming and we are ready. We have planning meetings and planning meetings after planning meetings. And we're obsessing over the details to make sure that this event is exactly what the bride is expecting.
Everything has been amazing. The service has been wonderful. The food was fantastic. We've gotten so many compliments. We just couldn't be happier. Thank you so much to Simply Delicious.
So good. We got a sampling a couple months ago of the food, and I think it was twice as good tonight at the actual party than it was in the sampling. It's been unbelievable.
Definitely. Everything was perfect.
This night has been unbelievable. It's our second experience with Simply Delicious, and they have been the best company ever to work with. Whatever we wanted, they were ready to do. Tonight they have created Caitlin's dream. They have created everything she wanted, from the South Carolina mixed Tennessee with the shrimp and grits to the wonderful barbecue teenies in the little glasses. The salad, everybody, every time I walk by the salad bar, everybody's gone, oh my God, this is amazing. Because you don't go to a wedding and get anything healthy ever. And here we are tonight, and it's a healthy option at a wedding. The Italian station has been wonderful. And then all the little desserts coming out and all of the appetizers that were passed, we cannot thank them enough. To work with them 2 years in a row and have them do like totally different stuff, but the food just be the same quality and the same just experience that you get, and to work with these group of women because they put their heart and soul in it. I mean, they're sending emails out at 2 in the morning to you, and you just fall in love with them, and we're almost sad we don't have another wedding to do. We have a rehearsal dinner way down the line, but it has been a wonderful experience to work with all of them.
Everywhere the guests look when they walk into this room tonight, they're going to notice the details that we, as a catering company, added to the bride and groom's vision of what they wanted for tonight.
So my one idea at the wedding was RC hot dogs after the band takes a break. And Caitlin never mentioned anything about doing it. Sure enough, Simply Delicious brings out RC hot dogs from Atlanta in the middle of the reception. It's awesome.
At the end of the night, it is total exhilaration. It is so exciting to be able to watch this event really from the beginning when it happens, when they walk in the door and they're so excited. It's like a symphony going, and I watch all of my staff and they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and the bride and groom walked in and they're like, oh my God, and it's so much fun. The whole night's fun. We love doing weddings. We get to be an important part of the bride and groom's special day. And that is why we do what we do.
Yeah, so only like 20% of what we do is out there. We tried to do like all huge, big events. It's just, we're just not there yet. So we do a lot of caterings, and that's when somebody calls and says, I need, lunch for 100 people, or I need dinner for 100 people, or I'm doing we do a lot of corporate business. We work a lot with FedEx and St. Jude and International Paper, where they might be doing like all-day training sessions for, groups of, from groups of 12 to groups of 100, where they come in maybe on a Tuesday and they do like breakfast, snacks, lunch, snack, and they might have like a dinner reception that evening. Then they come back the next day, do it all over again. And then like the third day, they might do a breakfast and like a box lunch to take them to the airport or back to their hotels. We do a lot of corporate business. I would say probably about 60% of what we do is corporate, and which is great because that corporate business is usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then our social business is Friday and Saturday. So what that allows us to do is offer full-time positions in an industry where that's based on part-time, usually, people. So we retain a lot of our staff. We do a lot of training. And 800 events a year, I probably go to 50 events a year. So, I'm usually at the shop doing a lot of work with our sales department and our culinary team, making sure that things are going out on time, making sure our equipment's coming back. So we have a team of event leads that really bring these types of events to life. And we have a team, our sales team and an event management team that actually work with the clients, sell the products, and then they take it through to the actual event. So it's pretty interesting. Because we're associated with Corky's, we have the ability to do really large volume caterings. And we have a little building, it's only 4,000 square feet on Brookhaven Circle. Most of it is kitchen. But we do have a food manufacturing facility out on Fleet Brook that is, I think, 400,000 square feet. And we sell our products back to our restaurants. So we do all of our barbecue sauces, like a coleslaw mix, stuff like that. That gets all prepared there and then shipped back to us. So we order from ourselves, which is pretty great. And we also I'm sure that you've seen in like Kroger's and stuff like that, we sell frozen product. We also own a few other companies. We own El Terrifico Cheese Dip Company. And if you eat at our restaurants, you know that cheese dip or the cheese sauce that's on our barbecue nachos. We also sell that in the store. We also came out with a new product this year, El Terrifico beer cheese dip. And that came from a Simply Delicious thought, because we started doing these like pretzel stations of like hanging pretzels and beer cheese dip. And talked to Andy, who is one of the owners, and I said, hey, our beer cheese dip is really good. We use El Terrifico base and we put a dark beer in it, and now we're selling it in Sam's Clubs and mail orders, and it'll be on the shelves in Kroger. So another great thing about our company is that we're always innovating. All of our great ideas come from with us, like the beer cheese. That was my idea. You can see, if you go to QVC, we sell a ton of stuff on QVC, and that came from one of our store managers, who is Jimmy Stovall. He was the store manager of Cordova from the time it was open until about last year. He was like, why don't we sell, we're selling in grocery stores and stuff like that, why don't we sell on QVC? And he went to Barry, another owner, and Barry said, well, find out how we do it. Well, now Jimmy is not a store manager. He actually heads up the QVC division, and if you turn in to QVC, Jimmy's the one that's selling Corky's barbecue on QVC, and he works on a lot of different brands now for us, selling them on QVC. We also package and ship all of Williams-Sonoma ready-to-eat products. So if you go into Williams-Sonoma and there's like pasta or cookies or breads or whatever, that came here from Memphis, from our facility, and we ship them out worldwide. A couple of years ago, Williams-Sonoma asked us if we wanted to go in with that and do like some of their ready-to-eat cookies and cakes and stuff, and we're like, we're not bakers, but we'll figure out, so we'll help you find somebody. And so we made the connection with Frost Bake Shop, and they have a couple of retail stores, and they do a good business. But now, so if you go into Williams-Sonoma and get cookies, that was baked here in Memphis by a local Memphis company and packaged and shipped by another local Memphis company. So we're really, not only are we trying to package and ship our products, we're trying to attract other people and we want to package and ship their stuff too, because the more that we can do, the more square footage our facility gets. It's just the better for us. We're able to do so much more. So like when we do those 20,000 person caterings, I don't cook that food at our facility. What I do is I call Joel, who is the director of operations of our packaging facility, and I say, hey Joel, I need 300 pork shoulders, and I need them delivered to me Friday at 7 o'clock. So he makes them, he packages them in food safe containers, and then takes a truck and drops them off to me, and then we load them on trucks and then send them out. So they do that with pork, and they do that with chicken. So I'll say I need, during May, all of the hospitals feed all of their hospital staff, and we'll do in about a 10-day period, we'll do caterings for 300,000 people, and I need 300,000 pieces of chicken. There's no way that we could produce that. So I call Joel and I say, I need 300,000 pieces of smoked chicken, and this is the breakdown, and this is when I need them delivered, and he smokes them, packages them, and sends them to me. We're also able to take some of our appetizers that we do, like for Simply Delicious, like our mac and cheese bites or our pulled pork stuffed muffins. During downtime, so like in July and January and February and March, those are kind of our downtime. Our kitchen ramps up production, and they produce, 20,000 mac and cheese bites. And then we send them to Joel, and he packages them in 50s, puts them in the deep freeze, and then we order for them ourselves. So they get delivered every Wednesday, so when we're planning out our week. So it's really a neat process, and it all started on Poplar Avenue with one restaurant 30 years ago. So we're getting more and more into event management and taking on a lot of that responsibility with our clients. Again, with our corporate clients, most companies like FedEx or International Paper, St. Jude, they have a team of event planners. And they might plan, 50 events a year or so. But we have great relationships with them, and we work very closely with them. So we start to begin, come up with these relationships with them, and they know that, they're gonna use us 50 times a year, and we'll probably do the same 50 events with them this year than we do next year. And we know who the audience is, and we know what rental company they like, and we know what kind of lighting they like. So the more people that we are able to create the relationships with, the bigger our company gets. And the gentleman that spoke before about the luncheons and the networking and stuff, those things are so important because it really is who you know. It's not so much, everybody's got to feed people. Like, everybody's calling us because they need to offer food and service to somebody. But the reason that they continue to call back is because we have a relationship with them. And you never know, like when we do an event for one group of people, we don't know if within that group of people, if there are 10 other event planners. So every time, we do an event, we always tell our event producers, which are like our salespeople, the best advertisement for yourself is to go to your event. There's no greater advertisement than a great event for you. So we don't have I don't expect them to go and work their event. They don't have to put food out on the buffet or whatever, but they're certainly going out there and shaking hands with people and meeting people. We're a part of a lot of organizations. We're a part of NACE, which is the National Association of Catering and Events. There is a local Memphis chapter here, and they meet about quarterly, and that's great to know all of our vendors. And new vendors start, joining those things, and you get to learn what goods and services they offer. Because when you're doing these events, even if I'm not providing a tent, for an event, so we say we're in a tent. If my team goes out there and the tent's in the wrong spot, or the tent's not, is leaking or something we need to know who to call. And if we're working with the same people all the time, then my event manager knows who to call. If we go to an event, and this has happened, weddings, we love weddings, they're great, but I'll tell you that weddings are difficult. Weddings are difficult because you're dealing with all these emotions with people. But I've walked onto a wedding more than once when the cake is like falling over or like melting or whatever. And if I didn't know, like the owner of the company, and was like, hey, get out here and get your, let's fix this cake. If we didn't know who to call, the mother of the bride's coming in, freaking out, and everything's wrong. Usually during these weddings, if one thing goes wrong, then they start zooming in on everything else, and maybe I have nothing. We don't do cakes, we don't want anything to do with your cake. However, if there's something wrong with it, I'm going to make sure it gets fixed because we want happy parents. The people who are paying for the wedding, we need them to be happy because it doesn't matter if we made the mistake or not. If they're unhappy all night, and so we don't have the opportunity to do a great job. So it's really important to know, to be in part of those local groups, so you know exactly who to call to solve what problem, because it's all about problem solving once you get outside. It's so much different than working in a hotel or working in a banquet facility when you're packing everything on a truck and driving it across town and unpacking it and unloading it and setting up. It's so much different. You've got to be able to know exactly what you're supposed to do, and then exactly if something goes wrong, who to call and how to handle it. So it's definitely fun. It's definitely it changes the way that you think. I'm constantly troubleshooting and trying to figure out a better way to do something. How do we save 15 minutes on our drive time? So that way, because you think about it, if I do 800 events a year and I got 2 guys in a truck, and I can shave off 30 minutes of their pay a day over 800 events, that's a lot of money. So I'm constantly trying to think about how do we do things better? How are we more efficient? How can we get everything that we send on that truck back? That's the biggest thing, is that we don't leave equipment everywhere. So we're also involved in some national and international associations. We're part of the LCU, which is the Leading Caterers of America. And I will say that a lot of people ask me, how did Simply Delicious, how did we grow our catering so quickly? Because really, we're going into, this is the 8th year, And it's literally, we keep doubling our sales and doubling our production every year. And it is directly influenced by our relationship with the LCA. It is, I think we're 60 strong now, so it's 60 caterers across the country. And it's an invitation-only organization, so they actually seek out the best people in the city. So there's not another LCA caterer here in Memphis. Because they want the best minds and the people who are doing the best to be working together. And the thought is, if I'm a competitor with somebody, I might not be as open with what I'm doing. So we get together twice a year. I mean, and it's companies that are, they might do, it might be literally an owner-operator and a chef, or that owner-operator is a chef, and it could be, they might do 50 events a year. And then there's people like us who are kind of, even though it's like, it feels like we're kind of big, we're still like mid-range to some of these other people. And then you have like big catering groups who own multiple restaurants and multiple venues and stuff like that. And we all get together and we do like management classes together. We bring our P&Ls, we like show each other like, how we're doing stuff. And that's probably the single, like if I needed to pinpoint something that is our success, is my relationship with those caterers. Because I can call anybody at any time and say, what are you doing? How are you making this work? Or what's an action station? What's new? What's working for you? What's not working for you? Or what's a recipe? Like literally we're sharing recipes and how to do things together. It's pretty amazing. And then there's also the ICA, which is the International Catering Association, which actually Trisha, she sits on the board of, and that is an international association. And it's kind of the same thing along the lines of the LCA. They do like culinary learning journeys together. Like right now they're in Greece, and they're just meeting all kinds of purveyors and going to eat great restaurants and trying to come up with new ideas to bring it back here. And again, it's an organization to introduce caterers to each other so that we can help each other. We also get a lot of referrals out of those organizations. Whenever we are doing stuff here in Memphis, like particularly, we've done a lot of referrals like through St. Jude and through FedEx. So when my corporate contact from FedEx that we do, all these huge events says, who do I use in Salt Lake City? I tell them, you use Culinary Crafts. That's who you use, because they're my partner. We stand by each other. We also fly each other's employees all across the country to execute events. So we sent in January, one of our partners that's behind the scenes in San Diego, they do the Torrey Pines golf tournament. And they were like, hey, you guys do golf tournaments too. Can you, do you think you have like 10 people that would come and work with us? And we're like, yeah, January is a slow time for us. So we got, some of our event leads, our chefs and stuff. They flew them out there, they put them up in like a beach house for a week. I paid them very well, and they worked with them for 10 days. And so it helped us because it got them off of our payroll in one of my slowest months, helped us be more financially secure that month. It got my best people working full time because I need to make sure to take care of them. So if they were off my payroll, I was able to bring in some other people that may have not gotten hours, so it kind of carries people through those times. And then they got to work this huge golf tournament. We do the FedEx St. Jude Classic, so when they came back, they were like, hey, this is kind of what we did in Torrey Pines. We got to run things more efficiently. I mean, there's no training for this kind of stuff. We just go out and do it and learn by kind of doing. We mess up a lot, we learn from it. We mess up and we problem solve, and then the guest never knows anything about it, and then next time we're doing it, we're like, oh, remember that time we messed that up. So we're really supporting each other in those ways too. We also do things like we had another one of our catering friends from Georgia. They do like the Masters. I guess there's a lot of golf tournament catering going around, but they do the Masters. They had one of their guests that came into one of their hospitality tents were like, I'm getting married next year. I live in Little Rock. And we're like, oh, we'll come out. So they called us, and because we're the closest thing to Little Rock, and they were like, hey, we want to do this wedding. It's going to be this huge $1 million featured in Martha Stewart and everything. You want to do it with us? Of course we do. So we called.
That kind of money.
Yeah, we called our franchise in Little Rock and said, hey, we need to set up a prep tent outside of your restaurant and receive Cisco orders and stuff like that. And they brought their chefs out, and we brought our chefs out, and we all hung out in Little Rock for about 5 days and put on this $1 million wedding out there. So, and to the guest, we're all one team. He knows that I'm only going to send my best people. Trish and I went because we wanted to see how they executed a wedding and what they did and what stations they did and stuff. So we're all learning together. So, the moral of that story is join an organization because it's really important. Particularly in this industry, in the hospitality industry, it is who you know, and it's the relationships that you have with people that are going to make you successful. It's your reputation and those people who work with you along the way that refer you to other people. That's really all I got. You got any questions? Yeah.
If you actually got to talk to a chef, did you do anything for the Fayette Cares event? The first one, because I was part of that first group of people from Southwest, because you know Chef C.
Yeah.
That's how I met your.
Yeah, that's how you met him. Yeah. We were out
that's
there.
how I met you. I know Chef Erickson because he's one of those alumni that Uncle Steve brings in.
Yeah.
Now and again.
Yeah. So he is doing really well in Virginia. He and his wife, we did their wedding. He came back for his wedding. We did their wedding last November. And so Amber and him moved back, and
discount.
Yeah, well, yeah, we did it. We're family, so we don't discount anything, but we're family, give them family prices. So, but yeah, we keep again. It's like with Eric, and he's sent people here. He's called me and said, "Hey, Yolanda, I know this guy that's graduated from culinary school. Give him a chance." And
I know half of people will do that.
And no matter what, if Eric says, "Give him a chance," I do it. Because I trust him. I have a great relationship with him. Yeah.
I know a lot of people are using like an alternative to catering, just like renting out food trucks. You guys consider that competition, or you want to get a truck?
We actually had Memphis's first food truck. I don't know if you know that, but we started using a food truck. God, it must have been 20 years ago. And we still have it. We had like 4 of them, and I know that Dawn sold some of them like in the 90s. But we still have one, and we use it on events sometimes. We actually brought it out a couple weeks ago and did a FedEx event out at the Botanic Gardens with it. I actually coordinate a lot of food trucks for events. So I have about 10 people that I like to work with, and not all food trucks are good for all things. They're good for 1 or 2 items. So when you're meeting with that bride or that wedding coordinator and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do a food truck wedding," and you're like, "Oh, that's a great idea. So let's talk about the best things that you can offer in a food truck, so that way your 300 guests aren't standing in line for 7 hours, right?"
Trust me.
So, because food trucks are very specialized in what they do. The larger their menu, the longer you're going to wait. So we work with, usually if it's a larger wedding, they have a wedding coordinator, and we prefer it that way. Like, we don't want to coordinate weddings. We want to coordinate corporate stuff. Like, we'll let a wedding coordinator deal with the wedding. So we work with the wedding coordinators and the brides to figure out which ones are right for them. I've coordinated the Central Barbecue food truck for a wedding before, which was really funny. I'm like, "Hey, it's one from Corky's. I need you to come to a wedding," So we'll do whatever, the guest wants. But we really try to steer them in a way that's going to be best. And we talk to them just like we've all been to a food truck rodeo or whatever and waited 15 minutes for food. So if you talk to your customer about, what their goal is for food at their wedding, if they want it to be an experience, if they want an experience with their wedding. Some people want that fun food truck experience. and that's great. So you offer them some alternatives. Well, how about if we add some things that are past? What about you want that fun kind of food truck stuff? And maybe I can have some guys and girls walking around with like hawker boxes that have little small plates. So when people are waiting in line, we could still be feeding them. Because if you don't get your guests fed within an hour, your wedding is not going to be fun. Yeah.
Because probably by that time they've consumed twice as much.
Right,
alcohol as they
right.
should have.
Your guests need to get fed within an hour. You need to have some small bites, and then you need to feed them. Like, because they're gonna, or people are gonna be like, oh.
They're gonna revolt.
Yeah, that wedding was not so fun. I left hungry, you know. So we, yeah, I think food trucks are great. I think a lot of people are doing some really fun, innovative things, but they're not good for all environments. The wedding, the event that I was talking about where we brought our food truck out, it was a FedEx event. It was 1,000 people. It was out at the Botanic Gardens, like in the Live in the Garden space, and they were doing like a taste of Memphis. So the lady that we work with at FedEx, which is a big corporate planner, she was like, okay, we want to do a taste of Memphis, but you know, you've got to, and she literally said, we want to do a taste of Memphis, so we want to offer some other stuff, but you have to take care of it. Because she trusts us to make sure that people are going to get fed, right? So we had Gus's there, we had like Bangkok Alley doing sushi, there was us, we have a really, a great friend, his name is Blake Carson, that actually invented like a Brazilian rodizio, like automated like grilling thing. And we were like, this is gonna be so great, it'll be so much fun. He had like guys out there in gauchos and stuff like that. And again, that's a Memphis made product, it's a Memphis made inventor. And we were able to showcase him. We did Gus's and stuff like that. But again, we took the responsibility, like we knew, like we were coming up with like contingency plans. Okay, what about if Gus's can't fry the chicken fast enough? It's 1,000 people. Like, have they done something for 1,000 people at once? You know, we can't have lines. So we had extra fryers out there. We're talking to one of the owners of Gus's and saying, okay, if it hits the fan, these are your guys that are going to help you. Same thing with Blake. We had people there. So we're always thinking about, what if the worst thing happens right now? Like, how are we going to get out of it? But that was fun. And then we had the food truck out there doing nachos and stuff. It's all about, like, when you're planning food, you know, everybody wants like stations now. You know, you want stations, you want an action station and stuff like that, which is great. You can kind of break up the line for people. Sometimes people, you gotta like, if you do that, if you like break up into things, you kind of have to have like traffic directors to let people know where things are. And so and I think the thought behind that is so that the lines aren't long. But if you're doing a lot of complicated food at that station, or you have too many choices, you're gonna have a long line. So like when I was saying with the food trucks, let's have a ton of food trucks, but let's only have the food trucks do 2 things. If we have 5 food trucks that do 2 things, that's 10 items. And then you have some like past appetizers, or maybe like a stationary something where people can grab some stuff. Because I want people to be fed. Like, I think people who are fed, people who are full are happy, you know? If they're hungry, they're not gonna be happy. So I want them to
When
get
they're
fed.
full, they can't revolt.
Right.
So does Corky's have like a partnership with the zoo? Because I work there now and Corky's is there
All the time, yeah. Yeah, we are on their preferred catering list. And they have like 10 or 12 caterers on there, but again, at the zoo, how events work at the zoo is a client will go and talk to Tim and say like, this is kind of what, and he tries to find the best person that he knows to work with for that client. So we do a tremendous amount of business at the zoo. Tim, like I'm on Tim's speed dial, and he says, hey, yo, I got 7,000 people, you know, 6 weeks from now. I'm like, okay, good, you know, let me get that working for you. Like I think last week we were there like every day last week or something like that. And then on Saturday we had like 800 people, and then Sunday we had like 1,500 people, you know, and we were able to coordinate a lot of things and made things easier for us. We were there all week, so we left our equipment there like all week, you know, and just like brought out food, had people clean and stuff, so made things a little bit easier on everybody. We did ice cream, which is always like a bad idea, but we did it. It was like the only time in my memory that we did like ice cream where it didn't melt everywhere. Like we finally got it right.
By using other people's stuff.
Yeah. We coordinate a lot of other people's stuff. I mean, we do all right fried chicken, but if somebody says they want to feed their guests the best fried chicken in Memphis, I tell them that we'll coordinate Gus's for them because they have the best fried chicken.
That's still up to debate. That's still up to debate.
It's good, you know. They want, you know, we're really lucky and we're in a food town, you know. And again, we do a lot of corporate business, so people are always asking for our opinion. If it's barbecue, we're going to sell them our barbecue because we believe we have the best and the most consistent product. But if somebody, just like when Williams-Sonoma came to us and said, hey, do you want to bake our cookies? We were like, we are not cookie people. Like, but I will find you a good cookie person, you know. And sometimes when we talk about the best, I mean, the best may not be the best tasting. The best is the most consistent product. They show up all the time because you could have the best tasting food, and if you serve it cold and you're late, it's not great. So being the best, you know, it's consistent.
So when you like hook up other companies, do you just get like one-time paid, or like with Frost, like do you get a percentage of like all their sales all the time, or?
No, like what, like if we're doing events with people, usually, again, join organizations so you can get in touch with all these vendors. Usually you get like vendor discounts with them. So like if I do an event with FedEx and I have Gus's and Blake and Gibson's out there and stuff like that, she doesn't have 20 different invoices. She has one invoice. I buy all of that stuff. They usually give me a discount, and then I charge her for it, and I mark it up, and then I charge a 20% admin fee on it.
So in other words, 20% plus another 20% equals 80% of your
what we
pocket.
charge. Yeah.
80% of your
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah, because it's easy for them. You know, they're selling things in bulk to us. We're coming up and we're picking up, you know, 9,000 chicken legs or whatever from them. And so, yeah, so the relationships you have, and then they know, like people like Frost and, you know, some of the party rental companies like the tents and stuff like that, you know, they know that if I'm going to do a tent, I'm going to go to Mahaffey because I know that they have a good product. And they're going to give me a 20% discount. It doesn't matter to that client whether or not it's my tent or not. They just want it to be there. And if I sell it to them, I'm going to make sure that it's right. I'm going to make sure it's in the right spot and all of those things. So yeah, so we do. We mark it up.
I know it's probably, well, obviously the relationships are important for you guys, but it's important for us too. So how would you recommend that we start building our network and continue to form relationships with people that we just met one time?
You follow up with them, you get their business card, and then the next day you send them an email. A lot of people are texting now, so I do a ton of stuff over text. If I meet somebody somewhere, I text them. I also go into like Outlook sometimes, you know, you can like schedule deliveries for emails and stuff like that. So I do so much business on my phone. I meet them one day. I usually scan their business cards. I keep all their business cards in my little thing here. I scan them in, and then I write them an email. I set it to like send them the next day that says, you know, it was so good to meet you yesterday. Really look forward to working with you again. Please give me a call. And then we have a really great CRM, which is like a customer retention manager. We use Catering for our software. So then that contact goes into our system, and then I set a timer on it for 30 days. In 30 days, I get like pop-ups that says like, hey, contact so-and-so, and where did I meet them? So you just keep on going. You just gotta be persistent with it. It's like a fine line between being like persistent and annoying, you know? So I have a good personality, I'm kind of funny, so I try to use that angle. And you know, you just keep going to those things and going to, you know, that hospitality resource man. I mean, you go and you meet 10 GMs from managers, all from 10 different hotels, odds are they're going to know other people too. So you create a relationship with them, you become useful to them, you become reliable to them. As soon as somebody else is asking in their circle, they're going to say, well, I met this great young lady at this lunch, and she keeps following up with me, and I'm keeping up with her, and you tell them like what you're doing, you know, and then they see you out at something else. Like you can't, everybody runs like in the same circles. Everyone's part of the same organization. So if they see you at this one lunch, probably going to see you at another lunch. And then they're going to see that you're being persistent. And that's really, it's like persistence. You just got to keep plugging away on it. And then just keeping up with people. I mean, social media and stuff like that, I don't, you know, I got a lot of friends on there, but they're mostly business contacts. And I keep my social media business only. It's, what am I doing at work? Here's this great event I'm doing. This is I'm going to the NACE luncheon. I'm doing this. So constantly people are being like seeing, hey, I'm out there. Guess what? Checked in here. Said, I'm talking to all of you guys. You know, this is all, you know, it's all a part of it. It's like, that's, if you want to be successful in the hospitality industry, you're constantly going to be working. Don't join it if you want a 9 to 5. It's no 9 to 5, you know. It's lucky now that there's a lot of things like, you know, your cell phone is amazing and it does all kinds of stuff, so you can do things on the go and, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, you got to just keep on plugging away and meeting people and getting in front of people. You know, when we have like new salespeople and event coordinators, they want to send like a lot of emails, and I'm like, emails are so annoying. Like, go meet people. Like, if you want FedEx business, go to a FedEx event. You know, you can't really get into FedEx like on site and just be like, oh, let me see your event planners. But you can always call an event planner and say, they all have meetings. They all get together like once a month and say what's happening. You know, how do you get in front of them? Can you take them cookies? Can you like show them a video? Can you just get in? You just got to meet people any way you can and just keep going at it. But Outlook, calendars, text messaging, stuff like that, you just got to get in the habit of it. You know, there are times like in January, February, March, and July, I'm really good at it. In October, I'm not so great at it. I've got all kinds of business going on. But when you get into, if you start your own business, you need to look for some type of CRM. If you're in usually any hotels or something like that, they're going to provide you something.
What else we have for Yolanda?
Worst Bridezilla story ever.
Worst what?
Bridezilla story.
Oh, they're all good. They're all good. They're all good.
One thing, make a mental note. You heard Yolanda discuss her relationships with some of her partners. Gus's Fried Chicken, cookies, cupcakes. On November 2, Leo Events is going to be in here. And we're going to have a joint class with Anna Sofer's events management class. And then they will talk about their partners, one of which
We work with
is
Erica.
Simply Delicious. So it's everybody knows everybody. Everybody's friendly with everybody, and it's a really nice business relationship in this town. So keep all that stuff in mind. Anyway, let's hear it for Yolanda.
That's the business cards, guys. Follow up.